All right, everyone. Our favorite YouTuber, John Doyle, has made yet another video, and what do you know? His MAGA hat is still on a month after Joe Biden won the election. That's not depressing at all. So let's see what he has to say. The title of this video is 4 Biggest Lessons from 2020. Is John going to learn that you shouldn't build your entire identity off of a singular political candidate? Is it going to be that maybe he's gone down a path towards a fascist ideology that's not only destructive to others but also himself? Has he learned, finally, that jerking it is fine and he is an adult and should do whatever he wants as long as it doesn't harm others? I'm guessing none of these things will be things that he's learned, unfortunately.
We've got about 2 weeks left in 2020. A lot of it feels like a blur. It feels like it really didn't happen almost, but it did. It did happen. And I can't think of a year in my lifetime or even in the last several decades where we learned so much about our country and about our leadership and about what we're up against. And so I figured that we should recap the 4 biggest lessons from this year because the science is settled. These are all undeniably true, so we'll get into what we learned about how our country really functions, about how its leadership really functions, about how its people function, and about how you are affected personally by all of it. And it's going to be a sobering monologue, but we need to get ourselves kind of into shape here for this upcoming year. And I know a lot of other conservatives are having a blast talking about how the Georgia runoff elections are so important, or AOC is selling overpriced merch now despite claiming to be anti-capitalism.
The shirt thing is very stupid. They're expensive because they're union made in the United States, unlike Trump's hats and shirts, which are made in China. Funny how that works.
Hypocrite much? These issues are so unimportant right now. It boggles the mind how thoroughly self-defeating the American right is. Like, our radius of discussion right now, given the current political context, would be the equivalent of William the Conqueror arriving at Hastings in 1066 with however many thousands of troops and cavalry he had, and then King Harold II being like, really? Are you gonna conquer me, William the Conqueror? Is that what's about to happen? Am I about to be conquered? Wow, okay. I guess it's only cool when you do it. Sir, should we fight back? No, we have principles. And then
Is that really how John Doyle sees the Republican Party? Does John Doyle think he's in the party with like a king that's waiting to fight some sort of literal battle? Oh, John, no.
arrow embeds itself in your eye socket. That's how he died that day, King Harold II. He got shot in the eye with an arrow during a battle against a French-speaking army. You know what they say about that? They say it was a flesh wound. Get it? Parce que c'est une flèche. Bilingual pun check. John Doyle anti-French origin story revealed check. The point being, we need to quit dicking around and understand exactly what we're up against because it was all revealed to us this year, so we're going to go over that, plus some very important news about this channel, so do stay tuned.
John Doyle in. Heck off, commie.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen.
It always makes me laugh how he holds that cigarette. Like, I'm not saying you should smoke. You shouldn't smoke, but he definitely holds that cigarette like he's never held a cigarette before. Which is good. Don't smoke, John. I'm just saying, like, he's like, yes, I'm holding a cigarette like a human.
Gentlemen, welcome to Heck Off Commie. Before we get into the list, I have a few things that I want to touch on briefly involving this channel. So if you want to hear about the very important news and updates, just continue watching. But if not, you want to skip to the list, I understand. It won't hurt my feelings. I'll put a timestamp up right now for you to skip if you'd like to do so. So basically, the plans that we have for the rest of the year are as follows. There will be 2 more videos after this one of which being the Giants anti-pornography video that I've been talking about. I've decided to make that
I'm so excited for that one, guys. That's gonna be so good.
the last video of the year so that people can watch it in time for New Year's, so they can adjust their New Year's resolutions appropriately. And I also think it makes
John Doyle's anti-porn video to unveil my new OnlyFans account. It's a joke.
To kind of end the year with like a huge epic video, one of the most important videos in the history of the channel, as opposed to something more normal, I guess. And in the meantime, we'll be tying up the loose ends for the end of the year here. You know, I'm gonna take a second to chill out. It's my birthday next Tuesday, which means that everyone has to be super nice to me. That's how that works. But the most important thing is that we'll be taking a couple weeks off in between the last video and the new year because we are officially going Texas mode. We are moving to Texas. I've been thinking about it for over a year now. I've always sort of thought in the back of my mind, like even dating back to high school, that I'd probably end up in Texas, but...
Is John finally moving out of his parents' house? Or is his whole family moving to Texas and he's moving with his family? I wonder.
This last year in Michigan has really cemented that for me. I love Michigan, love the geography, love the seasons, love the Midwest. I'll be back. Once it really hits the fan, we have to form the Great Lakes Federation. I'll be back. But for now, it's time to go Texas mode. I really have a soft spot for this setup here, but we're going to build a better studio. We're going to really start to do some cool stuff with HOC next year. We're going to be collaborating with...
Honestly, I'm so glad John's gonna finally be leaving my state. Thank God.
more people, bringing on more guests. We're going to definitely navigate and answer some of the more important and I guess bigger questions for the American right in the future, questions about power, the role of government, information warfare, etc. All things that very few other people are doing or talking about. We're going to be putting a lot more content on the website, including a weekly hour-long podcast with the boys, which will be called appropriately Locker Room Talk. And we're going to continue to grow as a channel, as a community, as a network, and as people. And unfortunately, I have arrived at the conclusion that Michigan is no longer optimally conducive to that, largely because of Gretchen Whitmer. I've spent the last...
Fuck yeah, Gretchen Whitmer. That's gonna be, if anyone's like, oh, why do you think Gretchen Whitmer's fine at her job? Well, she got John Doyle to leave the state. I think that's number one on the list.
You're doing the math, and I've concluded this. That being said, with everything that we do here, it's of course all made possible by you guys, and that is something that very few other groups can say. Like, we are completely independent, and even when we take a sponsor or something like that, like, they're made very aware that we're not just gonna stop talking about what we talk about, and that's why I actually have a lot of respect for companies that are willing to sponsor us, because, I mean, you know, what we talk about, but also the general political climate in this country that makes being conservative or even being associated with conservatives risky. But anyways, for everyone that's a member over at hackoffcommie.com,
just don't be shitty. Just don't be shitty. It's not hard.
you can now log into your account or sign up if you're not already a member. You can get the official HOC Christmas card for 2020. If you want one, just put your information in. I'll send you a Christmas card. I'll sign it just to say thanks for supporting us, to wish you well this Christmas season, all that good stuff. And then also, backed by popular demand, the Heck Off Commie Christmas sweaters. Here's the 2020 design. Gotta say, kind of excited about it.
Oh my god. Someone buy me this sweater or I'll die. How much are these sweaters? Where is it? Give me. Give now. How much is this? I need it. I need it. Where is it? Merch. Oh, they're sold out. No! If any of you have ever loved me, ever, you will buy me that John Doyle sweater. You will put a notification thing so you will be notified when it is back in stock. And you will buy one for me, okay? This is ridiculous. What kind of country is this, John, where I can't wear you on my chest shooting a gun into the camera? God damn it. I swear, like, if I had this, I would wear this to Christmas with Jake and Sarah and Alex. I would wear this, okay? I need it. God damn it.
So we're giving these away too. If you are a high IQ member over at the website, you can log in, enter into the lottery. We're only giving away like a dozen of these because
what?
They're actually like knitted Christmas sweaters and they're very expensive to make. And so if you're a high IQ member and you want one, just go to the website, log in, enter your information, and then if you win, we'll send you an email to confirm, and then we'll ship one to you for free on the condition that you send us a picture of you in it once you get it so that we can show everyone how epic it is. But also, we can't expect to get these to you by Christmas because they actually take a while to make because they're like legit, but they're still cool to wear throughout the winter season. So yeah, anyone who is a member can get a Christmas card if they so choose. And if you want a chance to win a Christmas sweater, you have to be a high IQ member, a genius, and then we're going to give like a dozen of them away. Plus, you can access, of course, the list of book recommendations. You can join the private Discord, vote on video ideas, ask me all of your questions directly, all sorts of good stuff. So again, thank you guys for supporting the channel. This is how we grow, and this is how we do bigger and cooler and more important things in the upcoming year. So very epic. Thank you. But moving into the list. We got 4 biggest lessons from 2020. That's what we're doing. Yeah. First of which being, we're not a serious country. Like, we're just not. We're not a serious country anymore. There have been countless symptoms of this highlighted throughout the year, whether that's with the nationwide rioting, billions in property damage, all of this being dismissed as acceptable by half the country. Same thing with the...
How about COVID? I feel like COVID and the lack of response by the federal government on COVID would be the the bigger one here, but okay, do you, John?
Government forcing small businesses into the ground while making exceptions for themselves and for their donors. The point basically being that we are not a serious country because we have no will to survive. We have no sense of who we are, no sense of what we're about, what we're supposed to be doing, what our purpose should be. We're divided by culture, class, wealth, race, language, ethnicity, religion. Like, there's simply nothing under which we can unify anymore. It just doesn't exist. This is a country that spends its time worrying about forced sexual and racial diversity. It has no greater fear than being accused of racism or an adjacent bigotry. And we're supposed to believe in this like Cold War nostalgia when they assure us that China's trembling right now. China's terrified of us. No, they're not. No. China views us as a territory and people waiting to be conquered. And our leaders are deliberately weakening us and selling us out to them. That's the problem. China isn't the problem. They're trying to run the same play that they did with the USSR, with the Middle East, and now it's China's turn. So they can convince people that the biggest enemy to America is insert country here. But that's not the case. The biggest enemy to America is the people who are in charge of her. Because if it weren't China...
John, Trump's been in charge. You like Donald Trump. What?
It'd be a different country. It'd be Saudi Arabia, India, whatever. Whoever wanted to buy. And that's just it. The problem isn't that there's a demand. The problem is that our leaders are willing to provide the supply. They're willing to sell us out. And so when you look at everything that we've seen, whether it's the rioting, tearing down statues of Thomas Jefferson, the 1619 Project, billions of dollars from private companies to false narratives of social justice, a state-enforced lockdown to prevent what basically turned out to be slightly more aggressive allergies.
Oh, no, John.
What did he say? What did he say?
Slightly more aggressive allergies that have killed 315,000 people so far that we know of.
What did he say?
He called COVID slightly more aggressive allergies.
Fuck you, John.
Countless livelihoods destroyed, plans set in motion to escalate societal indoctrination, not to mention everything that happened with our election, which we all know about. Rest assured.
I like how my hair looks right now, though. I don't want to fuck it up.
Okay.
Given all of that, we are not a serious country anymore because no serious country would ever so clearly be the architect of its own defeat. How can a country so divided fight on behalf of anything? We don't even believe in ourselves anymore. A serious country does not hate itself, nor does it hate its people, its history, its destiny, its culture, its values, etc. This country is...
John, a reasonable person recognizes history for what it is. Like, again, I'm not telling you to hate the United States, but you do need to recognize the bad the United States has done. And I'm not telling you not to point out good things either. You can. But what I'm saying is you need to be realistic and recognize it as the whole of what it is, not just the idealistic shining city on a hill you want it to be. That's not a good way of dealing with reality, by ignoring it. Bad idea.
Become a joke, and we have to swallow that pill. We can't just keep waving American flags and pretending that this is the same country that our parents grew up in, or even that we grew up in. This has become a country not of justice, not of true liberty, not of law and order, not of good. No, corruption, hedonism, tyranny, and lawlessness for everyone except us. It's a disgrace. Better men than you and I have wound up in an anonymous pile of bones fighting for this country, what this country was supposed to be. And if you would rather succumb to the demoralization and distractions of our society, then I think you're contemptible. I really do. I think that giving in when the stakes are this high and when what once was is so great is contemptible. The mission
we grew up in because he's so old and wise. Yeah, he's 20. Why is he talking like he's a 60-year-old war veteran? He's a Zoomer.
He's probably mimicking his father or something.
Yeah.
The mission of your life properly understood is to earn the sacrifices of those who
Did
came
you see
before.
he's moving?
I heard. I think he just wants to move to Texas. I don't think he actually is.
I think he is. He said he is.
Capitalistic propaganda.
I don't know. His Instagram didn't seem like he was for sure gonna move.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
That is what serious countries do. But speaking of corruption, we have our next lesson, which is that the swamp has a check valve. This, broadly speaking, is the lesson of the Trump administration and the Trump re-election, which is that you cannot drain the swamp if, in order to drain the swamp, you need the consent of that swamp.
Or, how about this? Trump also brought a bunch of really corrupt people into the government, including himself. Maybe take that as a lesson. That someone shouting the loudest about corruption, maybe make sure they aren't also corrupt and are going to increase overall corruption if you install them into power. That would be a good thing to think about. But, in fairness, I can't really blame John for that. He couldn't vote in 2016. He was too young. So that's not his fault. He only voted for Trump this year when he lost. So...
We learned this throughout the election process. We knew that it really wasn't so much about building a case, but really it was going to come down to finding someone with integrity to hear that case.
Sure, I'll look at some bits messages. Innsmouth Swim Team with 100 bits. Doyle's on-camera copium consumption is superior, in my honest opinion. Casual Snark with 20 bits before 1066. William the Conqueror was called William the Bastard. Lily Love Stuff says, congratulations, Hannah. John is leaving your state. Jalen Jean says, oh god, he's coming to my state. 626 Switch, thanks for following. Colorful Metaphor, thank you for following. Lily Love Stuff says, complaining about Cold War nostalgia, but your show is called Heck Off Commie. Okay, John. Towing24 with 20 bits. John, you know why we have the we need to be afraid of insert country? Capitalism. The part of that phrase you conveniently left off is we need to be afraid of insert country, so buy our guns and bombs. Batty Bell with 100 bits. You and Baja are heckin' cute. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bribby Brub, thanks for following. Probably a Lannister with 20 bits. Baja has the zingers today. Enlid with 20 bits. Adding fossil fuel industry insiders and people from Goldman Sachs into the administration. Yeah, Trump really wanted to drain the swamp. And then Stephen J. Neptune Man. Maybe John Doyle had the get out surgery and has the brain of a 60-year-old racist in his head. Dr. Gamble with 100 bits and a link. I don't need it. I don't need it. I need it.
What? Oh. Oh, that's good.
That's some fast meme work.
Yeah.
Good job.
And we learned that for some reason, the establishment doesn't like Donald Trump. The anti-establishment
Everyone reasonable doesn't like Donald Trump because he's awful.
candidate. And even throughout his administration, he was undermined consistently by the swamp.
That's what I don't even get. Guys, even if you like Donald Trump's, like, policies, if you want to call it that, from 2016, like locking up Hillary Clinton or building a border wall, he hasn't done these things, nor the drain the swamp, right? Like, seems like he did a bad job, even if you liked him.
Yeah.
So why are you still going to bat for this idiot?
The same reason people still believe in God.
by the
Very edgy.
administrative state, people who
I'm an
aren't
edgy atheist. I don't believe in God.
Yeah, we watched God's Not Dead earlier because she'd never seen it.
elected, people who are never up for re-election, people who literally exist to soak up tax dollars from us to compensate
I've been procrastinating gift wrapping because I'm so bad at it.
All right.
themselves for making the lives of average Americans more difficult. And we have never had a leader who was willing to push back against that, back against the swamp, against big tech, against big pharma, Wall Street, all of the most powerful institutions in the world that
The only time Trump has ever pushed back against any of this shit is like when he gets fact-checked on Twitter and wanting to remove protections for platforms like Twitter because it directly affects him, because he's a narcissist who literally only cares about things as to the way in which they affect his day-to-day life. He doesn't care about other shit.
profit at the expense of the American people. And for that reason, he had to go. They launched a complete assault against our president. And they had the help of half the country. And so the point of this is to realize that it was never just going to be, oh, well, Donald Trump just drained Washington of corruption. Cool, now I can go back to watching football. No, this was always going to be something that took many decades to undo, the same way that
Weird that Trump didn't run saying that. He was like, elect me and I'm going to drain the swamp and I'm going to fix it in the next 4 years. Hooray.
took many decades to impose itself. And we need to regard what has happened to Donald Trump as a symptom of the sheer magnitude of the power and forces that we are up against. And that it isn't just as simple as winning one presidential election. And that to seriously return power in this country to good people, we're going to need...
You couldn't even win 2 presidential elections. How do you think you're going to sustain some sort of effort to get rid of corruption? First of all, the Republican Party is incredibly corrupt. I'm not saying the DNC has no corruption. Very much the opposite. But what I'm saying is, to claim that you think the Republican Party is somehow a bastion of being pure and able to outroot corruption when corruption is a part of the RNC is odd, to say the very least.
to be smart, we're going to need to be calculated, and we're going to frankly need to be merciless, especially given that what we're up against isn't just America versus those who wish to destroy her, it's America versus those who wish to destroy her, aided by half of America.
No. I assume you're talking about people like me, John, or people like who actually have power to an extent like AOC or Bernie Sanders or whoever, even Joe Biden, you'd probably put in that camp. No, we would like to make people's lives better. People who are like leftists want to make sure that people like you can have insurance. Although, John, again, I know you come from a relatively wealthy family. So, like, I'm sure you have no issue getting insurance. You're probably still on your parents' insurance, which is fine. Obamacare did that. You can now be on your parents' insurance until you're 26. You're welcome, John. So, I don't know. Claiming that people who want to help Americans actually succeed and try and do something about the immense wealth inequality, the likes of which we haven't seen in like a century, and you're calling those people the enemy of the United States and not the people who effectively want to do nothing about, like, that income inequality, a disease that's killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. Seems like you're kind of talking about yourself when you're talking about a part of the population that wants to help destroy the country.
And that gets us into the next one, which is the iron law of politics. Democracy is cringe. Anybody who is defending or advocating for democracy after this year is either politically retarded or is acting maliciously.
There it is. Why do you guys think John Doyle is fascist? Maybe this. Maybe this.
The idea that, oh, if only more people voted, all of these problems would go away. Like, you look outside, everyone has decided after listening to the screen people for 5 minutes that wearing a cloth will prevent the virus. Kneeling will heal race relations. Whatever it is, it's basically proven that you can literally do anything to people, and as long as the mainstream narrative endorses the ends, no one will care. You can destroy their livelihoods, you can beat the crap out of them, literally whatever you want, because we are no longer governed by law and order. We're not governed by justice. We are governed by social justice as defined by the narrative. There is no due process. There is no morality. There is just the mob. And we have to understand that this should not be a surprise to us. I mean, people are fundamentally sheep. The vast majority of people very simply lack agency.
Jesus Christ. Unironic NPC sheeple talk? Really, John? You think democracy is cringe and you're out here being like, all these sheeple, they don't know what they're doing. They don't have agency. Jesus Christ, John.
And our problem is that the people running our society use propaganda and mass mainstream media as an extension of their own power structures to keep people in line. But because they can vote, well, it's supposedly a free society, they'll brainwash you into what you're supposed to be thinking. But since you ultimately get to pull the lever, it's a just and free society, right? Doesn't really take into account our last election, but still. The point is that right now, half the country believes and champions exactly.
Kawhi Elliott has a thing that says, hey, I found a shop site that could be helpful for female-to-male trans men like myself. It sells prosthetics for sex that are there to make both sides enjoy it. It's expensive, but it looks like it'll help for dysphoria during intimate situations. I don't know if you need to get a permit command to share the link. I just want to get the link out there for others. I wouldn't look at it on stream, though, as it's not safe for work. Yeah, go ahead. You can post it. That's okay.
What every major corporation does, what the UN does, what the federal and state governments do, what the mainstream media do, and they're convinced that, well, they're actually just more educated than you, and they're smarter than you, and they're definitely not susceptible to propaganda.
Again, these are straw men. Who says this? No one is saying that, like, mainstream media is unbiased. What we're saying is it's not explicitly fake news the way you're saying, right? Like, CNN has a slant. They absolutely do. They have, like, a pro-corporate, pro-capitalism slant, right? MSNBC is going to be a little bit more, like, neo-lib, but still very pro-capitalism. Fox News is going to be pretty neo-con, right? And then you have places like Breitbart that are going to be alt-right. Like, news sources have bias, and no one is saying otherwise. But just to categorically say, like, you should never listen or read a story from CNN or MSNBC or ABC or any of these sources, it's kind of self-defeating, because you can look at these things and recognize bias and just try and parse the facts. Otherwise, you're going to end up at even more fringe sites that do even less due diligence, and you wind up with places like InfoWars or Breitbart or whatever. Like, that's not good. If you find yourself calling, like, NBC or something fake news, and then your response to that, instead of, like, just being a critical reader or a critical viewer, is to then go on to something like Newsmax or One America News Network, then you have completely lost the plot, and you yourself are participating in literal propaganda pieces. Don't do that. It's not good for you.
A chance. It's actually just that they're smarter than you. And speaking of you, my friend, we get into the last one, which is, very bluntly, no one will save you. That is the truth. And if you don't get it by now, then you better get it pretty soon, because no one is coming to save you, and no one is coming to save us. We're the last shot. There is no future generations figuring it out. There is no fail-safe, because you have to understand that the people in charge of things don't need a country. They have enough money and connection to go wherever they want. They're going to be just fine. It's people like us that are going to be screwed over by this. And I implore you not to get depressed about this.
John, you're describing problems with late-stage capitalism and then advocating for fascism to combat that. That's not good.
But instead, to get really pissed off about this. I want you to get angry. Getting sad is for losers. A dog dying is a tragedy, but our country being sold out by those who are supposed to be looking out for us is an outrage. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sell you a false hope. There are not many trends right now that suggest that things are going to get better. There just aren't. The society is engineered to breed mental illness, to crush the American spirit, the American dream, the hopes of normal people to get normal jobs, have families, live normal lives. All of that is made increasingly difficult by the people in charge of our country, and it is breeding mental illness, because if you have a population that is mentally ill, that is desperate for any sort of meaning in their lives, you can mobilize that population with propaganda to keep any resistance in check. And that
John considers, for those who don't know what he's talking about, John considers, like, liberalism or leftism, basically anything left of Donald Trump. He considers that to be mental illness. He considers feminism mental illness. Obviously he thinks people like me who are trans, he calls mentally ill. All sorts of really derogatory bullshit, in case you're wondering what he's talking about here.
That's what's happening to us right now, and they want you to join them. Oh yeah, they want to make America such a degenerate, immoral circus of a country that it's impossible for you to take any pride in it anymore. They want you to just give up, ride the decline, chase short-term gratification in the form of consumerism, sugar, mass media, pornography, drugs, alcohol, any vice of your choosing, and they'll tell you that's what makes America great, that you have the freedom to choose your preferred method of self-destruction. And as a result, we conservatives, let alone Americans, conservatives are so demoralized and brainwashed, even we don't know what we're fighting for anymore. We want to make America great again, but we're losing the memory and idea of what that even means, and that's by design. Like, just last week, MasterCard and Visa cut ties with Pornhub, and resultantly Pornhub deletes, like, the majority of its content. This was literally the greatest dub that the right has taken in the 21st century so far. But even then, we're too brainwashed and
What? Okay. The Pornhub situation is, like, a whole thing. For those who don't know, I think there were allegations of, like, Pornhub accidentally hosting, like, videos of underage individuals, or at the very least it was they didn't have records of, like, because individuals could, like, upload videos. Anyone could upload videos to Pornhub. So it was a concern that people might be who are, like, 17 or 16 or something getting videos uploaded, or people were uploading videos on behalf of other people who didn't know about it. Like, legitimate concerns. So Pornhub ended up, like, removing all user content from the site until they come up with some sort of fix where they can document these things. Which is fine. That's reasonable. I understand that as an issue. Why is that a win for conservatives, John? There's still millions of videos on Pornhub, and also Pornhub is not the only pornography website. John, I know you don't masturbate, so you might not know this. There's more than one website on the internet where pornography is. I don't know if he knows that. Maybe the title's a little misleading. Pornhub. Oh, it's where all the porn is. No, it's one website. Whatever.
refuse to recognize that. The utter state that we are...
Removed uploads from non-verified channels, yeah. Which I assume was a huge pain in the ass for... I'm sure there are plenty of people who are, like, independent sex workers who do, you know, videos and stuff. What a pain in the ass that probably is for so many people. That's a shame. But I understand. They want to make sure, you know, they're not hosting any illegal content. Understandable.
Literal credit card companies, I repeat, literal credit card companies end up being some of the most based, inadvertently based entities in 2020. And again, this is not to demoralize you. If you want to be demoralized, go watch the news, go watch Instagram, attend a college lecture. I don't know. I don't want you demoralized. I want you to get angry. I want you to come out of this not depressed, not like this doughy mass of flesh, 2 parts sugar, 1 part alcohol, 1 part marijuana, 3 parts pornography addiction. I want you to come out of this carved out of wood. I want you to be a juggernaut, because you cannot expect to return to a strong, moral country if you yourself aren't emulating the caliber of man required to cultivate and sustain that country. It's impossible. It's not a coincidence that society deteriorates as men become weaker, including in terms of spirit and willpower. And if you think that the average American man would have been in a place to fight in the American Revolution, the constitutional...
John is legit losing it at this point. I think the Trump loss has broken him and broken his brain because he is just going so out there. What are you doing, John? John, reel it back a little bit into reality. You're not going to be part of some second American Revolution. You're just not, John. Calm down.
Convention, even attending that, let alone just grow up and survive in the generation immediately preceding his own, you're misaligned with reality, and that's the problem. Men thought that they could become weak, and now we're surprised to see that society's on fire. This would surprise virtually no one at any point in history, but we're stupid now, and so we think that we can just conquer and evolve past nature, but we can't. And we're suffering the consequences of that, having tried. And if we don't better ourselves, then we can expect to basically just stay here. I mean, we can't expect to build a better country. To suggest otherwise is ridiculous, and to suggest that there is a more immediately obvious and practical solution forward is also ridiculous. Hey guys, if you like this video, leave it a thumbs up, leave it a comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you get notified when the next time I post a video is, so that if I have another heated gamer moment, epic go-off moment at the end of the video, you'll be notified, which is epic. And then you're also gonna wanna share this video with a friend. You could share the other videos with friends too. I don't know how many friends you have. I don't know what your ideal video to friend share ratio is. I'll tell you what, I actually have confidence that you are a rational agent capable of self-governing, so I will leave that to your discretion. But thank you so much for watching. I was gonna say Merry Christmas, but it's not Christmas yet. It's actually closer to my birthday than it is Christmas, so go ahead, wish me happy early birthday. No, you're too kind. You're too kind, actually.
Okay, I'm not sticking around for his cringy bit at the end. John's completely gone off the deep end at this point. He's full mask off saying democracy bad, so it's going to be interesting to, over the next month, especially after Biden gets into office, seeing if he just continues to break from reality or what. It's interesting stuff. Moving on.